everybody. Welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations. For this episode, I thought I would share something that I did for the Patreon crew, which is really supporting this work at this point. This video is from our deep dive series, where we're looking at something that happens in lots of different songs. It's about the flat 3 diminished, so that kind of relates to the last episode I did here on YouTube about the diminished scale. And our song of the month, for the last 2 months actually, has been Embraceable You. So it relates to that because it features the flat 3 diminished. If you like these videos, please give this one a like and a subscribe. And check out Patreon if you feel like it. It's got a whole course of all kinds of things, including our daily practice regime, deep dive series, repertoire, and standard series, and lots of great community conversation. It's a really fun time, and it's just, I'm really excited about it. I hope you'll come check it out. Anyway, here is the deep dive on the flat 3 diminished. Hey everybody, this is the first installment of the deep dive series, where we look at something that happens in a lot of places and we kind of get familiar with it in a little bit more detail, just that kind of concept. We're looking at the flat 3 diminished because our song of the month, or months, because we're kind of doing it for a second month, Embraceable You, has a flat 3 diminished right in the second bar, and it's really prominent. But the flat 3 diminished happens in lots of songs. It's one of the core movements. I'll put on the screen here. That happens in jazz standards quite a lot, and we want to really practice and get familiar with. So let's get into it. In Embraceable You, I've showed you it in the second bar. I'll just do it here. So it's... there it is in the second bar. So that is the sound of the flat 3 diminished. It happens often, and the way I like to think about it is it's before a 2 usually. Often it comes before a 2 chord. It often comes between a 3 and a 2 chord. So the way I think of the archetypal kind of thing with this is I have a 3 chord. I'm going to go to a 2 chord, but I'm going to chromatically descend like this. So like that, but instead of doing that chromatic chord in between, I'm going to go I'm going to do a flat 3 diminished right there. And so instead of this, it's, which is a nice sound, pretty sound, happens all over the place. I'll give you some examples of it here. Here is My Romance. Goes 2, 3, flat 3 diminished. Which is pretty sound. Someday My Prince Will Come is similar. So just a second. And then here it is. Right there. It's a nice song. So that's 3, 2, flat 3 diminished, and then 2. What's another one? How about Body and Soul? So here it comes. Right there. So it's 3, and then flat 3, and then it happens twice in that song. It happens at the bridge also. One more. How about All the Things You Are? So in the end, you get the 4 chord. Someday I'll know that moment divine. Right there. So it's right there. 3. Really nice sound. So those are some good examples, kind of get in the ear, kind of how it's normally framed. It's like a 5 of 5, really, because the flat 3 diminished here in F. This is the diminished that could express G7. Whoops, am I thinking that there? Yeah. So it's here. It's expressed in G7, and then it goes to 2 instead of straight to 5, which is kind of like a embellishment of the 5. So that's a way of thinking about it harmonically, but it's really about this voice leading between things. So let's look at some things to practice on it. So what I'd like to really do is make this an opportunity to test how well you can summon chord types. So if you've only been looking at major 6 chords, then you're only going to be able to do those. But if you've been looking at the theory section of Foundations 1 and practicing what's there, then maybe you've learned your minor 6 chords coming from a diminished and dominant 7ths, dominant 7 flat 5s. But if not, you can practice them here. So if we take this flat 3 diminished, here it is. If I lower any note, I get 4 dominant 7th chords, right? If I lower 2 adjacent notes, so that means notes that are separated by a 3rd, a 6th, or a 10th. So I get my major 6 chords, and this is in Foundations 1, and the YouTube video talks about that. If I lower 2 non-adjacent notes, that means notes separated by a tritone or here. All right, so those are the dominant 7 flat 5s. And then if I raise a note, I get minor 6th, but I could also lower 3 notes and get the same result. And that's what we're going to do here, because we're going to use these chords to borrow and make beautiful sounds like this. So we go. So now. So what I did there was I embellished this by, instead of just playing the diminished scale like that, or even elevator type things, I could play this note, I could play it in some chord, I'd do an octave chord here, but then here, I'm actually playing the on chord and just borrowing some notes to express this melody. If I only borrow 1, which I didn't do, but that would be the simplest thing, I am playing a dominant 7th chord. So I'm summoning a dominant 7th chord. And if I have a melody like this, with this off chord note there, I could only play 1 dominant 7th chord that would realize that melody. It's the one that has the root of the dominant 7th on that note. So this is the root of this dominant 7th, E dominant 7th with the 7th in the bass. So that's how I could harmonize with the dominant 7th, but I'm really borrowing, which is pretty. But I could lower 2 notes, this note and this note, getting a dominant 7 flat 5. So I go, there it goes. It's pretty. Really pretty. So I could do dominant 7 flat 5. I did the dominant 7th. Now I could do major 6s. So let's see, the options that I would have there, that one will work, or this one. I think that's it, because that won't work, because the melody doesn't do the thing. I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't express the melody. And then what am I forgetting? Yeah, because the ones that have the 5th or the 3rd on the 2nd string won't work, but the ones that, this one has the root, that's one of the notes lowered to create a major 6, and this one, the 6th. Those are nice. So I can go, there for a second, but that's a nice thing. So any one of those, and then minor 6s, you're going to have 3 options for these. So you got 1 option for dominant 7th, you got 1 option for dominant 7 flat 5 for doing this melody. You got 2 options for the major 6s, and you got 3 options for the minor 6s. So what that looks like is this. I could go. So that's one of the minor 6s that'll express this melody. Anything that doesn't have the 5th on the 2nd string will work to do this melodic line. So I wouldn't do this one that has the 5th. So I could go, or Or I could go. Or I could go. What am I forgetting? So this is the third on the second string. This is the sixth on the second string. That's the third on the second string. It's the sixth. And then the root on the second string. So I can go. Nice. I think these are really pretty sounds. They just express a little bit of color, and they also test your ability to bring forth these chords from memory. If you know other floors of the elevator, you can do that nice. I'll do one with maybe a drop 3. So I'm going to start with a drop 2, F major 6. I'm going to go work my way down the elevator or up the elevator, however you want to see it. I'm going to go like that. So that was drop 2 to drop 3 to drop 2 and 4, and then I'm on a drop 3, and I'm gonna go. So I went drop 3 diminished, and then this is a minor 6 and drop 2 and 4. That's nice. Pretty stuff. So it's really a nice way to test what you know in a musical context and get to know the flat 3 diminished and familiar with this kind of melodic figuration that often happens in the flat 3 diminished. There's a lot of things we could play over this movement, and we'll look at it more, but this is a nice start to it. So I hope you found this fun, and welcome to the Deep Dive series. Talk to you soon, and have fun practicing.